The genesis of this sermon came from the movie Flow, a Latvian film that won an Academy Award for Best Animation this year, and that reminded me of the reading from the Hopi elders. Have any of you seen this film? Only. Okay. Flow is a beautiful meditation on the extraordinary power found in connection. To those around us, to the natural world, it reminds me that Mother Nature can transform and destroy. It is this morning's reading come to life. There are no people in this film, and their absence is not explained. There is no speaking except for the language of the animals, which I believe makes it that much more profound. Even my cats, Groot and Arya, were transfixed by it. The New York Times even had an article about it. And I invite you all to look up the videos of animals watching the film, because they provide the best moments of Zen I have seen in a while. The main characters are an independent black cat, a friendly yellow lab, a sleepy capybara, an inquisitive lemur, and a majestic secretary bird. They are thrown together because of a tsunami that wipes out their world. And they must learn to live and rely on each other. Before watching, I had to read the entire synopsis first to make sure the animals were okay at the end. And because I am still not over Charlotte's Web, Bambi, Old Yeller, or The Lion King. And also, you need to watch the film to the very end, because there is a final scene that is worth it. After watching, I felt inspired to write a sermon about it because of its universal themes of perseverance, empathy, community, and belonging, which appear to be in short supply these days. If these 5 creatures could find a way to coexist and help one another, why can't we? We talked about Margaret Wheatley. Wheatley in her book Perseverance shares that perseverance in Latin means one who sees through to the end, one who doesn't yield. In English, it describes how we maintain our activity despite difficulties. And in Chinese, the character for perseverance is often the same as the one used for patience, which resonates for me. Perseverance is often misunderstood as solitary endurance, as gritting our teeth and pushing ahead no matter what is placed in our way. Flow and the words of the Hopi elders show that perseverance is deeply, deeply communal. It is about mutual support, about lifting one another when the current is strong, and about recognizing that we do not swim alone in this river of life. I invite you to think of a time when you were struggling to stay afloat, perhaps in grief, in uncertainty, or in fear. Who was there with you? Did you find strength in their presence? Or were you the one extending a hand? I believe that perseverance requires a shared vision and hope for the future. Think about all of the work, time, energy, money, and commitment and love that you have all invested in UUFNW to create the beloved community. Your shared vision and hope have given you the strength to persevere despite challenges. Our faith calls us into moments of connection. It reminds us that while the waters may be unpredictable, our bonds with one another can be steady and strong. The animals in the film are reluctantly thrown together in a boat out of necessity, except for the yellow lab who wanted to be everyone's friend. They persevere in the face of great obstacles. In addition to a shared vision and hope, I also believe perseverance requires moments of joy. We need to be reminded why we are undertaking a great challenge. The cat knocks the lemur's trinkets off a shelf in their tiny boat, because even in the middle of a flood, a cat is still a cat. Or when the dog finds a ball that the lemur had collected and is filled with unbridled joy. Every year, instead of a resolution, I usually pick a word of the year that helps guide me. This year, all bets were off, and I had to pick two phrases. Do not obey in advance, from Timothy Snyder's book on tyranny. And joy is an act of resistance, by poet Toy Derrick. I begin every morning with these phrases to remind myself to stand up to injustice in the world, to use my privilege to help those who are being silenced and whose rights are being taken away. As an empath who feels everything all the time, all at once, I try to find the balance between knowing what is going on in the world and not have it overwhelm me to the point I am incapable of doing anything about it. That is where joy comes in. And I invite you to consider when times are difficult and you are trying to just get through. Where does your hope and joy come from? Does it give you energy to move forward? Moments of joy can be simple. For example, daffodils bring me joy, and the lilacs are blooming in my condo courtyard, and I can begin the morning as I leave for work, or when I came here, and end the day admiring their beauty and inhaling their fragrance. Another theme in Flow is the power of empathy. Empathy is feeling with another. Initially, the cat is independent and fearful and tries to ignore the other animals. And a beautiful moment occurs when the secretary bird defends the cat from other birds, getting hurt and ostracized by them. It is left not being able to fly and joins them on their boat. In that moment, the cat feels empathy for the bird and begins to warm up to him. There is also a moment of transcendence between the cat and the bird that brought tears to my eyes, that embodies empathy in our ultimate connection to each other and this world. Cat overcomes her fear of water and learns to fish and shares them with the community. And throughout the film, the animals keep coming across a giant well. And when the water starts to recede, the cat finds the well, beached, whose one visible eye is fixated on the cat. She knows the whale is suffering and sits against it, purring and providing comfort. While we as a viewer never know how the tsunami came to be that caused the flood, we know the earth is suffering along with the animals. Many years ago, when I worked as a chaplain in a standalone psychiatric hospital, I met a man who was living with schizophrenia. He was in a great deal of psychic and spiritual distress. He told me that he could hear the heartbeat of the world and it was breaking because of what we were doing to the planet. He felt it so deeply that his own heart was breaking, and the pain he felt quite literally prevented him from functioning. We connected because I listened to him and did not discount or minimize his suffering. My own heart hurt for him. I have never forgotten what he said and was reminded of it during the movie and every time I read the news and another natural disaster has taken place. What would it look like if everyone took a moment to consider life from another's perspective? Be it a person, an animal, or the natural world around us? Would it make a difference? As you know, Earth Day was this past Tuesday, and Dr. Jane Goodall shared her reasons for hope in her 2025 Earth Day message. She is hopeful because of the young people who are making a difference. The resilience of nature despite what we are doing to the planet, and human intellect that is creating new technologies that help us live in greater harmony with nature. And she writes, "What can I do about these things? And I say to you that every day you live makes some impact on the world, and you can choose what sort of impact you make." Unitarian Universalism affirms that we are interconnected. The seventh principle speaks of the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. This interconnected web is alive, moving, and dynamic. It invites us to trust, not blindly, but with an open heart, to trust that we will be held, that we will be supported, and that we will in turn support others. As human beings in this world, we need community. And in that community, we need to feel like we belong, that there is a place for us. I have been reflecting a lot about what it means to belong. Since August of 2000, almost 25 years ago, I have worn many different hats at UUFNW. Hard to seminarian and wife of your interim minister, Reverend Sala, director of religious education, and affiliated community minister. I remember sitting with Scott Dyer as he wrote a letter that enabled me to officiate my first wedding for my best friend in the Grand Canyon in 2004. And many of you were there to celebrate with me at my ordination in September of 2005, almost 20 years ago. UUFNW, so many of you are woven into the tapestry of my life. My professional role as manager of spiritual health and well-being at Stanford Health is all-consuming and makes it difficult to be here in person and participate as much as I wish in the life of this congregation. Whenever I can join you, though, I always feel like I belong. And for that, I am grateful beyond measure. One of my favorite quotes from Brene Brown in her book, Braving the Wilderness, and I go back to it again and again, gets to the heart of what it means to belong. She writes, true belonging is a spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self with the world and find sacredness in both being a part of something and standing alone in the wilderness. True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. Flow begins with Kat, gazing into the water at her own reflection, alone. And in the end, as Kat looks at her reflection in the water, she is joined by a dog, capybara, and lemur. She not only found community, but Kat also found belonging. The Hopi Elders' message calls us to recognize that we are all in the river together. It warns us against clinging to the shore in fear. Instead, we must keep our head above water and look around. Who is swimming beside us? How can we help each other move forward? Let us be mindful of the currents carrying us forward. Let us swim together, not apart. And when we feel afraid, may we remember, at this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. When we do that, our spiritual growth comes to a halt. The time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones we have been waiting for. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.